order the City of Oconomowoc Common Council meeting for Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. Has appropriate meeting notification been made?
It has, Your Honor.
Chief Pfister, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Welcome, everyone. Would you please call roll, Gina?
Thank you. Alderman Spiegelberg.
Here.
Alderman Mulder.
Here.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Here.
Alderman McConnell is absent. Alderman Youngworth.
Here.
Alderman Rosick.
Here.
Alderman Altman-Cloth. Here. Alderman Ellis.
Here.
Thank you very much. We have two public hearings today. One is focused on housing ratios, and the other is the Harvest PD Comprehensive Plan rezoning. So while they're tied together, they are two separate public hearings. So if you have sent me a blue card and I misinterpret which one you want to speak at, please raise your hand and let me know. I'm going to read the public hearing. We'll open the first one, then we'll close that, and then we'll open the second one. So to start off, our first public hearing is a comprehensive plan amendment, the housing ratios. The purpose is to hear comment on an amendment to Chapter 3, Housing of the City of Oconomowoc Comprehensive Plan 2050. The request is to change the housing mix policy. The established housing ratio found on page 47 of the comprehensive plan is a housing ratio that to not drop below 60% for single family, not to exceed 35% for multifamily dwellings, and not to exceed 5% for duplex units. The desired housing mix being requested is to change to drop not below 58% for single-family dwellings and not to exceed 37.3% for multifamily and not to exceed 4.7% for duplex units. This change would allow the development called the Harvest at Paps Farms to comply with the housing ratios, which includes a minimum of 44 single-family homes and not to exceed 330 multifamily units. The project is located north of Paps Farms Boulevard, west of Sawyer Road, and south of Lake Country Village subdivision. So tonight we're going to have Mr. Gallo sends his regards. He's unfortunately out of town. Mr. Duffy is going. Trying to be nice. So Mr. Duffy is going to lead us and go through and do a summary of this. Please understand, if you're in the audience, we'll ask you if you'd like to make a comment. We'll have you come up. And then these are potential action items later in the evening in the council tonight. And a lot of the questions that you may have may be addressed at that time. Mr. Duffy.
Thank you, Mayor, Common Council. So tonight we're going to talk about we have four action items on here. I'm going to talk about each one of them individually. As the mayor said, I think we're going to go through and talk about housing ratios first, pause, take those comments, and then I'll do the second public hearing with the other three items, correct? If I interpret you correctly. The first item is an ordinance for the comprehensive plan. In our comprehensive plan, we have housing ratios. In order to proceed, we need to amend that housing ratio. Second element is an ordinance amendment to the comprehensive plan. According to Wisconsin state statute, our comprehensive plan land use and our zoning must match. So should this development move forward, we need to change the land use. That allows the third element of ordinance change for rezoning of land from its current zoning to what's being proposed by the applicant. And the last item is an ordinance to create a planned development overlay zoning district to provide amenities and flexibilities within the overall development project that we'll talk about today. To give you an overview of the overall area, so the Harvest at Paps Farms is roughly 210 overall acres. However, it's split amongst two different municipalities. It's a little over 106 acres in the city, and about 103 acres in the Village of Summit. Strategic location in the area, given its frontage along I-94, given that visibility and some of the proposed uses that are being discussed today. Another component, as you're well aware, the city of Oconomowoc approved in July, the Costco development as well, that is currently under construction as we speak. From the city side of the development, all stormwater is handled within a regional facility that's already been master planned as part of the overall Paps Farms development. This is an area in which it abuts also to the north, housing development that has been in place for quite some time, and we want to be sensitive to how we transition from the north to the south related to this development. And lastly, the city is in the process of completing well number 8 within this area to serve not just this area, but other areas without the city. We've been planning for that installation for probably decades to be able to do that in this strategic location. We talked about Costco is currently under construction. The other element of the Paps Farms that is under construction is the Wingspan mixed-use development, including the innovation and incubation area, some multifamily, as well as commercial development that is approved and under construction at this current time. So this is the overall site plan that has been shared. The developer has taken the opportunity to meet publicly with the community members, as well as with the entities of the Villages Summit and the City of Oconomowoc, as well as individuals of those different bodies, to be able to come to the site plan that they present to you today. So as I talked about, the housing ratios is a critical component related to this. So that's the first item to talk about. Housing ratios, what's being proposed today is single-family detached structures, single-family attached structures, or twin homes, which is similar to other developments that we have here in the city. Multifamily owner-occupied units, multifamily 2-story garden units, as well as multifamily 3-story unit. And we'll show some examples of what that might look like. This is what a twin home may look like. These aren't, we just took a palette of different things out there. This isn't the specific proposal at this time, but to give the community a flavor of what may be constructed within this area. Garden-style apartments, similar to what we've seen in other areas of the city and other areas of southeastern Wisconsin. Planning staff has done a tremendous job tracking housing ratios throughout the community. Current comprehensive plan provides a ratio of 60% single family, 35% multifamily, and 5% for duplex. We've had the conversation here at the council for several months about housing ratios. That was left at the last stage here at the council, upon your request to bring projects forward on a case-by-case basis to weigh the merits of a project related to allowing the relaxation of the housing ratio. So that's where we are today. This is our current housing ratio as we see it today, 59.6 for single family, 35.6 for multifamily with condos, and 4.8% duplex with condos. Allocating the units that are proposed in the Harvest development, as you can see, it would shift that housing ratio for just over 58%, excuse me, 37.3% for multifamily with condos, and 4.7% for that duplex classification.
Can you go back to that slide for a second, Bob? Okay, thank you.
Taking into consideration the proposal of the Harvest development, they are proposing 56 single-family units into the ratio, 334 multifamily units, both in that multifamily owner-occupied, 2-story garden style, as well as the 3-story multifamily structure. I'm not going to read this to you all. This is actually the ordinance that you would consider in the regular council meeting agenda, should you consider to approve this and move the element forward. One element of specific note, given we have an existing policy, I wanted to call out the specific paragraph that the action that we'd be looking for is that the housing ratio not to drop below 58% for single-family dwellings, not to exceed 37.3% for multifamily, including both apartments and condominiums, and not to exceed 4.7% for duplex units and condominiums to accommodate this overall development. So that is written right into the ordinance. I will stop there if you want to take comments on housing ratio.
Great.
Do you want me to leave it?
I've gone through the blue cards, and I want to make sure that the community and those in the audience realize that when this comes to an action item, that's when it's going to be debated among the aldermen and on the policymakers on their thoughts on this. So this is not an active, big discussion at this stage. This is your opportunity to share with us your feelings. So I've tried to I found two that are, I think are focused on the ratios. And if I don't call you up, then you would come up to the next public hearing, which is focused on the comprehensive plan. If you're not one of the two I call, and I'll ask again, just raise your hand, because I'm not 100% sure, because it's fairly general in how you filled out the blue cards. But I do know the first one would be Larry Swalkiewicz. Larry, if you could please come up. When you come to the podium, please try to adjust the microphone so we can hear you well. Please state your address, your name, your address, and the community in which you live. And if we're going pretty long, I'll just ask you if you can try to wrap it
3
up.
minutes.
Well, we'll be flexible. We want to make
I
sure
got one
everybody's
page,
heard.
that's all I got.
Okay. Thank you, Larry. Go ahead.
So my name is Larry Swalkiewicz. I live at 1512 Paddock Court, which is part of the Village of Paps Farms Condo Association. I've been on the association's board for 5 years now and currently hold the position of president. I'm here as a representative for my association to express our concerns about any decisions to be made that will impact the Cobalt's proposal, which is if we signed or changed the ratio, that would give room to have Cobalt's plan development go through, as far as what I understand. That's Cobalt's initial plan dated December 2nd, 2025, proposed 250 single-family units, and this is also the city and the village of Summit. You can't really separate the two because the numbers affects us no matter what. So we got 250 single-family units, 246 garden-style units, 220 apartments in a 3-story building. This all entails a total of 716 all rented units. Their latest proposal dated January 31st that I pulled from their website proposes 70 single-family housing to be owned, 24 condo units, 18 duplex units, 416 apartments in a 2-story building configuration, and 416 apartments in a 2-story configuration, and 220 unit apartments in a 4-story configuration. This is a total of 748 units. This is a big shift from 220 apartments now totaling 636 apartments. Yes, this includes numbers for both the city and the village, but that's twice the size of Hackney House. The fact that the exact numbers are listed in the city's agenda tells me you guys knew about this. Were we informed by any way, shape, or form? Not by the city. And December 2nd, I signed up to get updates from Cobalt. I didn't get any. I had to go on the website and start looking to find their update. I watch the Common Council meetings, and there is a reoccurring theme that if there's a development deemed worthy, I've heard that many times from you guys, that would be the basis to make a change to Economoc's housing ratio. I keep hearing this, but what I do not hear is what that means. Explain to me. How does this make this better? How does it make it worthy? I thought that the older persons are listening to the people that they represent. Well, here I stand before you saying that this COBO proposal is not worthy.
Thank you. Next one, I'm not sure, Lynn Wright. Lynn, do you want to talk about the ratios or the whole project? Okay, well then I'll probably have you come back for the second hearing for the whole thing. If you could just focus on the housing ratios here, that would be great. Thank you.
Lynn Wright, 707 Marigold Street. Okay, so.
City of Oconomowoc.
City of Oconomowoc, thank you.
Great.
Unlike the gentleman who just spoke, I live in the Flower Street, so it's not directly impacting where I live, but I still care about my fellow neighbors, okay? And the area, and also about the number one theme throughout Oconomowoc is the overdevelopment. You hear that over and over and over again. I spoke to April Welch, who's running for District 1. She's been knocking on doors. The number one thing is overdevelopment of Oconomowoc, okay, that she's hearing from the residents. And also lack of communication with the residents. A lot of them don't even know who their aldermen are. So you voted because we thought you were listening to everybody when you went to the 60, the 35, and the 5. Now, not even 2 years later, you want to modify it. It doesn't make you guys look good, okay? It doesn't make you
Can you
look
speak
like-
a little louder into the
it's not-
microphone?
It's not like,
you.
you represent the people. And we're feeling like you just do what you want to do, and you put it in that this net new construction, I think is the term, right? Everything falls into this net new construction. So I really would like you guys to explain that all to everybody. And it's a guise to overdevelop the community. And it's not what the majority of this community wants. And even new people who moved in, it's not what they want either. So I really hope you don't make this change, you guys. I really hope you don't. Thank you.
Thank you. I have 3 more cards that I was going to use for the next public hearing. Is there anybody that submitted a card that wants to talk just on the ratios? And have you filled out a card, sir? Please come up. And your name, please?
My name is Joe Grosh.
Gotcha. Thank you, Joe.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Joe Grosh. I live at W284 and 3234 in Delafield. My business is Store It Right. My wife Katie and I built the first phase of Store It Right just last year. And I'm really glad I'm not at the hot seat here today, because it's nice just being a participant. I'm here to be in favor of these new ratios. This is the exact kind of development that my wife and I were hoping for when we moved our business to this location. Communities like this, specifically the business owners and the businesses, we need density. We need houses. We need what's called heads and beds in order to support all of us. We're all family-owned businesses, and we need people living here, working here, going to restaurants, storing their stuff. And I just can't tell you how important it is for the business owners of the community. One thing I just want to emphasize, it's really important about this community that's tough from a business owner. If you think about most demographics as a full circle, one of the challenges with Oconomowoc is we only have about a half a circle. There's incredibly low density. There's not a lot of density to the north at all. So when you look at a restaurant, any business like my wife and mine, we're looking for people on a half a circle. We don't get the whole benefit of the circle like somebody in Brookfield. We're working off a half of it. So it's just all the more reason that we need density in our community in order for our businesses to thrive. One more point. When you look at multifamily or apartments, and the demographics are with what's going on in our communities today in the economy, apartments, high-end apartments like they're proposing, the typical demographic is usually 50 and over or young families. There's very little in the middle of the typical demographic who can afford to live in these premium high-end housing. And these are the exact people we want in our neighborhoods. We want people with families, and we want the people that are in that 45, 50 and older category. These are low burdens on our infrastructure, and they work and they shop and they spend money in our communities. So all the more reason I'm telling you from a business owner standpoint in the community who's invested millions of dollars here, is that I fully support this, and I applaud all of you guys for considering it, and I hope this goes through. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else that would like to talk about housing ratios in this part of the public hearing? Seeing no additional comments or requests, the public hearing for the comp plan amendment on housing ratios is now closed, and we're going to open up the next public hearing on the Harvest PD comp plan rezone. So I'm going to read this, and then we'll turn it over to Mr. Duffy. The purpose is to hear public comment for an amendment of the City of Oconomowoc Comprehensive Plan 2050 and a rezoning of 106.67 acres located along the north and south sides of Pabst Farms Boulevard, north of I-94, west of County P, and south of Lake Country Village subdivision, consisting of these following tax codes. The rezoning is for the Harvest at Pabst Farm development project that includes a variety of for sale and rental residential housing, public recreational features such as walking trails and active lifestyle commercial uses. The three parcels are designated on a land use plan as business park, and the request is to change the land use plan to suburban residential, high-density residential, and commercial office. The parcels are zoned Business Park District, and the request to rezone the property to suburban residential is 17.09 acres, residential multi-high units 24.88 acres, general commercial 64.7 acres, and a planned development overlay district. The purpose of the PD overlay is to allow the SR area to increase density from a targeted 3 units per acre to 4 units per acre, and allow the RMH area to increase density from the targeted 12 units per acre to 14 units per acre. The street setbacks on the corner lots will be reduced from 25 to 20 feet, and up to 50% of the lots having 0 side setbacks for the potential of twin homes. SF lots, single-family lots, widths reduced from 70 feet to 55 feet, and side lots reduced from 10 feet to 7 feet. And the residential garage design standards with an exemption from section 17.202 and 17.203 residential requirements within the zoning ordinance. In the zoned areas, the applicants is requesting exemptions from 17.205 pavement hard surface setbacks of 3 feet side yard minimum to 0 feet. And section 17.205, the side yard setback to be reduced from 20 feet to 3 feet, side minimum yards to 0 feet. 1705, the side yard setback reduced from 20 feet to 10 feet. Parking requirements in section 17.303, parking and loading standards regarding the maximum number of stalls allowed and the allowable properties to be created with no public street frontage within the zoning ordinance. The complete list of public benefits are identified in the application materials. If approved, the applicant intends to develop Pabst Farms vacant lands with a complementary mix of land uses. So what we're going to do is turn this over for a visual and overview summary from Mr. Duffy. The applicants are also going to speak at the end of that, sharing some updates for the public and for the council. Mr. Duffy.
So to simplify that notice, we're doing three things, as I talked about in that earlier slide. We're gonna be talking about changing the comp plan land use designations. We're gonna be talking about rezoning three individual parcels, and we're also gonna rezone with a plan development overlay. And I'll walk through each one of those. Currently, our comprehensive plan, land use plan, shows this area. As you may recall, we rezoned the land for Costco earlier this year. All the lands to the west are commercial and office use. The lands in discussion today are all zoned business park in accordance with our comprehensive plan. Proposed amendment to the City of Comprehensive Plan is to change, though, the land use from business park to commercial office, high-density residential, and suburban residential, which are, make those part of our land use plan. Essentially, to show the same maps, would be changing that from business park to commercial, high-density residential, and single-family residential. Again, going back to the site plan, that's how it all lays out based on the zoning that has been proposed for this overall development. One of the things we always want to look at is what the current zoning is and what the potential users in the business park district are. These are the elements that are right out of our zoning ordinance that would be allowed should we not rezone this property. Again, we tried to provide context earlier of where this is located, adjacent to the I-94 to the south, residential to the north, county highway to the east. So we're really trying to take a look at what makes the most sense given what is being requested here. So again, the other potential users that can happen in the business district, based on our current zoning and based on our current land use plan, are the following as well, whether that's logistics facilities, data centers, manufacturing facilities, with no limitations on the size of those structures. Previous iterations we've shared this with the council. This is what could happen here based on the current zoning, both in the city as well as in the village. Currently, we have at least 2 business parks within this vicinity. These are some of the businesses that are located there. So again, we're trying to balance what we have today, look at, is there demand for that in the future, or is what being proposed a better use given what we currently have there and the surrounding land uses that currently exist. An overview of both our Southeast, Paps Farm Southeast Corporate Center, as well as the El Canamo Corporate Park, and where those businesses that were previously listed were before. By amending our current land use for general commercial, these are the uses that we would be allowed. All of them are same as business park with the exception of those that are struck and through. There are some uses that the developer has prohibited specifically related to the overall proposal. These are some land uses that are allowed in the general commercial but not in the business park. So again, we're trying to take a look at what are some of those uses we want to see as a city, working with the developer to identify those that don't, of which they're self-selecting to prohibit in this area as well. So the other element of rezoning, as I said, is a plan development. We use plan developments in order to provide flexibility, given a comprehensive master planned area within the community. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So that rezoning would accommodate, again, the 106.67 acres. It would encompass all 3 of these parcels and then provide additional restrictions or flexibilities within those specific zones of commercial, suburban residential, as well as multifamily residential high. One of the elements that we've also have as it related to this is our well that's being placed. That specific use is going to stay as a business park because the well itself is an allowable use within the business park district. One of the things our utility has requested as well is a 50-foot buffer adjacent to that, of which the developer is allowed willing to provide the community to be able to accommodate the needs of our utility now and in the future. So that overall rezone ordinance would incorporate all of those acreages, 64.7 acres of commercial, 24.86 of multifamily residential high, as well as 17.07 for suburban residential. Copy of the specific rezone ordinance that is before you this evening. One of the elements that has been a conversation between the city and the developer is a very specific clause that the zoning ordinance would not take effect upon passage and publication as required, but will become effective until land disturbance permits are issued by the city for development purposes of said properties to protect the city to ensure that specific development projects are moving forward. And it's something that they've been willing to allow to be placed here in our rezoning ordinance. So now the plan development overlay, or in accordance with the general development plan, we have several stages to our plan development process. Plan development allows the general development plan to be submitted. Certain flexibilities provided in there in accordance with the public benefit, all of which I'll share. And then they come back into the future to make more detailed plans of this overall area at a future step. So some of those zoning exemptions or intensity bulk restrictions, as identified in the ordinance, are elements related to units per acre, as well as bulk requirements related to setbacks, property widths, as well as certain setbacks. For instance, what we've done in the past with other developments is that 0 lot line for twin homes that we've developing here in the community. For non-residential, paving setbacks of 0. What we're gonna likely see in these commercial areas is shared parking fields, so cross easements through that, not creating setbacks and creating uniformity among those parking lots in a commercial area. Building setbacks relaxed to 10 feet, lot width on the street at 0%. Another element we've seen here in the city, we actually have our ordinance talks about maximum parking stalls. We don't have minimums, we have maximums. We are removing that limit. We've seen recent developments where they're actually asking for additional parking to accommodate their staff as well as customers. So we're removing that piece given that challenge, because our current ordinance is a maximum, not to exceed. When they go through the detailed process of individual site development, the developer needs to identify the locations and amount of those exemptions requested for the city to review. And again, the parking and loading exemption is for those parking stalls, size of stalls, access aisles, and parking ratios that we have within our zoning ordinance. As indicated in the PD, we do look for public benefit. The developers identified the following as public benefits that we'll continue to work through as we get more detailed into the plan and in the process related to all of those elements. We'll share some of those with you here today. They've identified several areas of open space or green space to be able to accommodate the overall development, but also allowed to be able to use by the overall community in general. So again, parkland dedication, central green, to really unify the overall development, not just in the city, but also adjacent in the Village of Summit as well. The willingness to provide the 50% buffer access to the city as part of the overall planning of the development. It's one of our public benefits. Connectivity, both, again, we're showing this collectively, both between the city and the village, because most of the individuals don't view those as boundaries, as we are one community adjacent to one another, providing both trails and sidewalks and connectivity throughout this area of the development, both north, south, and through the overall development as well. Connectivity from a pedestrian network throughout the commercial areas as well. Be able to continue to have that interaction with people, vitality, and activity throughout the overall development in the community. We have done some work in the traffic impact analysis, Taddy has identified the following improvements, which would be required as we continue to move forward. The applicant has met with the county to be able to talk about improvements to County Trunk Highway P as well. And those continuing details are being developed by the engineering firms to make those specific recommendations as we continue to move forward toward detailed plans. This is the ordinance to create the plan development ordinance. I won't read it to you all. It's fairly lengthy, but it really talks about all of those elements we talked about before. Those bulk requirement exemptions, the public amenities, prohibited uses, environmental lands to be protected, the sidewalks and trails we've talked about, drainage elements as part of the regional component. Timing of permits is another element that we've added to this that I'll talk specifically about. Originally, after the Plan Commission action, the city had added a component related to the timing of these issuance of permits to ensure that just one use wasn't going up before some of the other uses. So again, this conversation was that we would provide building permits of the garden style or the large three-story apartment buildings. However, no building permits will be issued for the remaining until to accommodate a minimum of 100,000 square foot non-residential building space within that commercial area. In conversations with the developer and their lender, this is the component. So should you move council, should you move forward with this timing of permits, we would ask that you include this into your motion to be able to ensure that this is incorporated in that. The caveat is, based on their lender, that we would issue permits until the earlier of infrastructure is installed that would accommodate a minimum of 100,000 square foot of non-residential space, or the closing of a construction loan for the building or buildings comprising of a minimum of 100,000 square foot non-residential building space. So that's how they've structured it based on their lender's request, and the applicant can address that as well when they have the opportunity to speak tonight. So after tonight, by no means is this over. We have a tremendous amount of steps that'll continue to move forward. As I talked about, the traffic impact analysis is ongoing for the city and the county to review those improvements and those recommendations related to the overall development. As with all of our master plan developments in the community, we have required design standards for building, design, materials, lighting, and signage. So it's a comprehensive view of that area within the community. As part of the MOU, it's identified that potential tax incremental financing district request could come as it relates to this overall development. As majority of our developments related to public infrastructure, we enter into very specific developers agreements, private road maintenance agreements. The Paps Farm Stormwater District was a separate entity from the city that has representative from both the city and the village need to act on how this overall development takes place. The DNR reviews the plans related to grading and notice of no impact permits, as well as review of all the easements, cross-access easements, electric and shared parking easements that will be required to accommodate this overall development. Plan Commission recommended all of these elements via resolution at their February 4th meeting. So they approved the resolution to amend the housing ratios. Plan Commission approved a resolution to amend the comprehensive plan. Plan Commission recommended the ordinance to rezone per the exhibit for the residential suburban residential, multifamily residential high, as well as the commercial zoning, as well as they recommended the ordinance for the harvest to create a plan development overlay. For your action this evening, this will be all first readings. You always have reserved the right to waive that second readings should you wish. With that, I will leave it up with the overall layout.
Thank you. If the applicants would come and present their updated areas, please. And then after this presentation, that'll get everybody on the same page, and we'll open up to public comment at this public hearing. I do have one blue card with respect to the Village Green. We'll address that not during the public meetings, hearings, but we'll do that shortly thereafter. So if you filled out that card, I don't want you to think we forgot you. If you could please identify yourself, sir, and present what you have.
Sure, good evening. Scott Yauk with Cobalt Partners.
Brian Bell, Paps Farms Development.
If Bob had told us a list of all the next steps earlier, we might not be here tonight, but we are. So we appreciate the time this evening, and just wanted to add a few things. Let's see if I can get this into the presentation mode. Sorry about that. And we're not going to go over a lot of the materials that have been submitted. We did have an application that was submitted, which had a lot of pages that detailed a lot of what you'd seen there. But just want to talk a little bit about our approach. We want to talk just briefly about brand development. Don't want to take a lot of time, but just to establish there's more than just a site plan here. There's a brand being developed. There's a field of the development and kind of a method to the madness to getting to a mixed-use development. And then we'll have a little more detailed site plan, and then hopefully the more exciting part is a flyover of the development, about a 2.5-minute video that kind of shows what the architecture starts to look like. And for the people certainly in the public and the audience, you see a site plan, you don't really get a feel. I can't blame people for saying, what does this look like? And you see these numbers, it's out of context. This is a big site. It's 170 acres just on the north side of the interstate. So those units get spread out, and they get spread out over a number of years. But I'll get to that in a second. But just from an approach perspective, our team has been around for 20 years. Our company, we've done exclusively mixed-use development projects and public-private partnership. Certainly, it sounds like some people looked at the website, but the projects we've done are mixed-use. They're high quality in terms of architecture. We're local. We're in the community. We're not a merchant builder. We really focus on that higher level of architecture and quality and really fitting a development into the context of the community. And hopefully that comes through in some of what you see tonight. We really have tried to have a thoughtful and transparent process. We have tried to get updates out there. There hasn't been a lot that's changed really since over the last couple months in terms of the plan. We've certainly added single-family lots and increased some of the density there in response to some of the comments. We've had more than 20 meetings with city staff. We've been before your body at least 4 times. We've had public meetings. So we try to incorporate all this. We think it's an iterative process and a collaboration. There's been a lot of city staff input. And again, we hope the end product reflects some of that. From our perspective, what you see tonight really reflects the market realities. It reflects site constraints. It reflects long-term objectives, I think, from the city's perspective. Certainly, we understand the housing ratio. One thing that I'd point out in terms of the ratio, this is assuming that the housing ratio, the way it's being calculated, assumes that all of the units that we would be proposing would be developed, in place really in day one or year one, and that there would never be any additional single-family development. If you look at the history of single-family development in the city, it's been about 115 to 120 units per year. And there are some arguments that may diminish because of lack of availability, but even if you're down to as few as 70, and our build-out is a 7 to 8 year horizon, the housing ratio does not get out of whack even under the current numbers. So this is a very conservative approach at looking at that ratio. Certainly, it's a policymaker decision. It's not a decision for us to make, but just want to point that out, that this ratio is absolutely worst case, as if no additional single-family lots would be developed going forward. We again, think that, and again, policy questions, not questions for us to decide, but the current zoning, and I know Bob showed you what the development might look like by right with other uses to the north. We think this is a higher and better use. I think it is under most definitions, but again, it's a policy decision. And when you look at the southern piece of the site, south of Paps Farms, but north of the interstate, but within the city of Oconomowoc, that sets up really well for commercial retail uses. When you look to the north, those uses aren't appropriate there. There's not enough depth for that much retail. It makes housing a logical choice, I think, for the transition to the neighborhood to the north. I know Jason Gallo felt that was an appropriate kind of feathering in of uses. We've tried to go from a lower density single family to some twin homes to garden style, and then there's 1 3-story building of 110 units. That's not a real large building by most standards. So that's been thoughtful, we think. There's 5 different types of housing that are offered, and it offers a range of housing choices by design. Last point is, again, you'll see in a minute on the brand, we're trying to create a cohesive brand, a look and a feel to the development, and through sort of an integrated, comprehensive, mixed-use product. And that's really what this is. It's not just about housing. It's all of this is designed to work together. You'll see some focus on kind of human scale, durable materials, things that I think work together to form this mixed-use project. And then in terms of benefits, I think you've seen the list that Bob's provided. I won't go through those again in detail, but we do think this brings a lot to the community in terms of amenities that aren't here today, a retail destination that doesn't exist, certainly significant increase in tax base, and a number of other things relative to the well and things that Bob had mentioned that I won't go into right now. So I just want to show you quickly kind of how we've developed the brand here. And we kind of started with some premises, and again, I'm not going to read all these right now other than the high level, creating something that's authentic, that's rooted and connected to the community and reflects a cohesive brand. And we ended up this tagline where modern life rediscovers its roots. But I want to show you more kind of the ideas behind this are that it's authentic, homegrown, welcoming, crafted, and optimistic. Let's skip some of these things. And we ended up with the brand, the Harvest at Pabst Farms. This is kind of the look and feel of the logo right now. Again, you'll see this briefly in some of the ways it might be implemented throughout the development. The colors, you'll see there were some ties back to some of the pastures, the farm brick, the barn roofs, and so forth to really kind of create a brand that we think honors the legacy and the tradition of the land's prior history. Kind of imagery, you start to see the look and feel of what's envisioned to be what this development kind of will reflect in terms of community. And then just sort of some implementations of what that might look like.
Can you speak up a little
Yeah,
louder,
I'm sorry,
please?
it's too tall for this microphone. And then a final kind of look of the brand. There's an updated site plan, so we've updated this a little bit. Again, prior site plans were kind of sketchy just for purposes of some of those initial meetings, so they're starting to be more developed here, and this will lead into the video and the animation. But you can see some of to the north, if you can see the cursor, does that show on your screens as well? Mm-hmm. Along the north, this was a significant area of addition now to all those single-family lots. And there's some direction to create a little more density. So these lots were made a little bit smaller, which allows a little more density of single-family and probably more attainability. Some of the homes along the southern part of that road would be potentially those twin homes with 0 lot lines. I'm going to now try to fire up this video. That. Don't have any sound, but. I think we're not open for discussion right now, right? So this is
Correct,
just
we
comment.
will
Okay.
do
I don't
that.
know if, should I play it through one more time, or is that sufficient?
If we want to, we can play it through at the next
Okay,
session,
all right,
if the
yeah, in case-
council
'cause we can
so
stop along
desires.
the way
Yeah.
if you want, if there's
Val,
questions.
do you have
glad to
anything else that you would like to share with
That's all
this
right, no,
at the
anything
public hearing?
I had one thing, Bob mentioned that though, but, you know, again, we've certainly presented this as a mixed-use project, and the idea that, and one of the pieces I think that's attractive for the community is some of the retail that's not here and some of those commercial uses. Again, some negotiation that went on with the city, we've agreed that we can only build a portion of the multifamily, equating to maybe about half. It'll depend on which project goes first, until there's another 100,000 square feet of retail. So we're standing behind the fact that it's a mixed-use development. There's no intention to build a portion of it, not the rest of it. So we're committed to that.
Okay, thank you. Let's start with our public comments for the public hearing. Peter Zelski. And Peter, if you could state your address and the community in which you live, that would be great.
Yes, my name is Peter Zilski, and I'm at 35263 Yahara Drive in the village of Summit, and I live in Lake Country Village. Just across the berm, which we don't see in any of the drawings or any of the video. In fact, one of the original plans was showing a pathway coming into our neighborhood. Well, that would be going through a stormwater drainage ditch and a dry detention pond. So let's see. I have to provide my wife's comments first because she couldn't be here. She wants to see trees and stone, okay, for architecture. So I've done my husband duty.
Good job.
As a general, personally, I'd like to just leave it agricultural, quite frankly. But we are concerned about the density, and it's been mentioned before, the rapid development in Oconomowoc, which seems like a hyper development, which we don't think needs to be that fast. And, you know, along with traffic and effects on schools and so forth, we're concerned about that. And, of course, we have a pretty nice view what we have right now. We're right up against the berm, and we see the berm. We get to look down the berm, and we're concerned about housing on the other side that might affect that view. So, and the other thing I'm concerned about too is, and this is, you know, tied to the high density and the rapid development, is, you know, we have a Oconomowoc River Watershed Protection Plan. And any amount of development we do does have an impact on that watershed. And the city of Oconomowoc wastewater treatment plant is not in compliance with its chloride limit, which, you know, the city of Oconomowoc does get a variance for that because of the local hard water, but there's nothing we can do to treat for chlorides except try to reduce the amount of chlorides that go to the river. And any amount of roadway, parking lot, driveway, sidewalk means more chlorides. And then these apartments or higher density units use a lot of salt for their water softeners. And that can mean it could be tons of salt going to our wastewater plant, which it can't handle. So that pretty much summarizes our concerns. So we are not in favor of high density below, you know, south of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Tews.
Hello, my name's Mike Tees. I live at 1771 Derby Lane in the city of Oconomowoc at the village condo at Pat's Farm. Mayor and assembly members, council members, what I'd like to express is, out of your looking at ratios and we're looking at the harvest, to me, they go hand in hand. If you adjust the ratios, what I want to see is a commitment to the comprehensive plan at harvest. I think that goes together, and without that overall commitment of the entire projects, I would not be in favor of adjusting any ratios. Thank you.
Thank you. Lynn Wright.
Lynn Wright, 707 Marigold Street, City of Oconomowoc. Okay, so what the real need in Oconomowoc is for more single-family, affordable housing. Not more apartments, not more multifamily. So I really want to stress that to the developer, okay? The need is single-family homes that are affordable to families who want to come to this area. But families want homes. They do not want apartments, okay? They really want homes. And so how much are these homes going to cost? How much is the rent going to cost, okay? And as far as families and schools, I think at this meeting not that long ago, it's 6 kids are in the school district from Hackney House. Correct me later if I'm wrong on that, but I remember that. So we want to increase families in this community and children, so we need single-family homes. So so if we have to do the higher density from 3 per acre to 4 per acre, so that's quarter-acre lots, then please give us more homes and less of all the other things that you discussed. No TIF, no TID. I think we all residents agree on that. Oh, and what will be built? Like, how will this be built? Like, will single-family homes be built? Will the apartments be built? It seems that always the apartments want to be built because that's where all your money comes from. So you'll want to do that first, and then when will the homes get built? So there needs to be an agreement in writing, in contract, of how that needs to be built. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the last of the blue cards that I have. Are there any other comments for the public hearing? Yes, yeah, come back up. And then just please identify yourself as you did the first time.
Hi again. Larry Swalkiewicz, 1512 Paddock Court, City of Oconomowoc. I gotta admit, Cobalt did a nice job. Beautiful plan, beautiful development. There's only one issue. It's probably 4 to 5 years late. Since I moved here 6 years ago, we have close to 2,000 new apartments. Now you're gonna add 636 more. How's that gonna, and also, doesn't the water from Oconomowoc provide water for the Village of Summit for the subdivision north of where that's gonna go? So wouldn't that also mean that we would be providing water for the Village of Summit of the Cobalt plan? How's that gonna affect our water? We have 8, soon to be 8 wells, but that will change because as soon as well number 8 is up and running, according to the meetings I saw, 1 and 2 will be shut down. So are we gonna have enough water with all this high density? Also, how will this affect the police? How will this affect the fire and emergency rescue buildings with such a high density area? Again, very nice plan, just wrong timing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any last comments in this public hearing? Seeing no additional comments, the public hearing is now closed. I'd like to entertain a motion for the approval of minutes for February 3rd, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Our next item up are comments and suggestions from citizens. I have one blue card for the Village Green. Mike Tees, if you have a comment about the Village Green.
Do I need to re-announce myself?
Yeah, unfortunately, sorry about
Okay.
that. Thank you, though.
All right. Mike Tees, 1771 Derby Lane, City of Oconomowoc, Village condo at Pabst Farm. Mayor and council members, what I'd like to say about the Village Green is the overall layout, I think, is excellent. It's a very good plan. My understanding, right now, the only hangups is regarding the bathrooms. I support more bathrooms and less bathrooms. You know, location is not as important as the number of bathrooms. But overall, there's a good job at laying it out, and you did a lot of work, I could tell, over the years. It fits very nice, and the grass area looks like an O, so that's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comments on any topic that you'd like to share with the council this evening? Seeing no additional comments or suggestions from citizens, we're going to move on to entertain a motion for consent items A, 1 through 4.
So moved.
Second.
Any, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Moves forward. We're going to move on to our committee reports. We'll start with finance. Consider an act on 26-R330, approving a budget amendment for the fourth quarter grants and donations received and the year-end budget adjustments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In your packet tonight, you have before you the normal quarterly grants and donations material. In addition, there are some year-end adjustments that you see annually for the fourth quarter. I have no real more notable items to add unless there are any
Any
questions.
questions or comments? I know you went this through committee. Any questions or comments from council? Seeing none, I'd like to entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Call roll, please.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shell Pepper.
Aye.
Alderman Youngworth.
Aye.
Alderman Rosick.
Aye.
Alderman Altman Cloth. Aye. Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
On to our next item in public and protection and welfare. Consider act on the approval of a full-service retail sales application for Steelhead Ale Works LLC. Gina?
So this was heard at Protection and Welfare Committee this evening. This is sort of a reapplication to rectify our premise description, and it was approved in committee that full-service retail outlet be approved with beer, alcohol, and wine.
Alderman Altman Cloth.
And the owners were there during the committee meeting, and we had told them because of the length of the public hearings that there really was no need to stay. I believe all of the aldermen, well, maybe except for one, were in the room
Okay,
for that
great.
hearing.
Great. Like to entertain a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any further questions or
Name
comments?
out, guys.
Call roll, please.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shell Pepper.
Aye.
Alderman Youngworth.
Aye.
Alderman Rosick.
Aye.
Alderman Altman Cloth.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
From our committee reports on utility, consider act on resolution 26-R3338, approving the contract extension for cross-connection control program inspection services.
Yeah, thank you. As a water supplier, our administrative code has us have to have a comprehensive cross-connection control program. We accomplish that in Oconomowoc with our water operators handling the residential part of it, and an outside company doing the commercial and industrial part of it. Tonight, we're requesting a one-year extension of our current contract. It's budgeted for, it's $19,900. So we're looking for a motion to approve resolution 26R3338.
Questions or comments for Mr. Osborne?
The only
Alderman?
the only comment in utility committee was, I asked why we weren't doing another 5-year contract, and Scott said this is kind of like a franchise tag. We get a better price to do this 1-year deal, and then we'll have to renegotiate it next year, so that's why we approved it unanimously.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved, Rozak.
Second.
Any further comments or questions? Call roll, please.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shell Pepper.
Aye.
Alderman Youngworth.
Aye.
Alderman Rosick.
Aye.
Alderman Altman Cloth.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
On to our first item on the Plan Commission, consider act on the certified survey map for PAPS 59 to divide 1 into 2 lots and 2 outlots located at 1581 Town Center Way. The applicant is here. Bob, are you presenting this? Because Jason's not here.
Surprise.
Yes.
Mark? Is that, okay. So last time they were not able to attend, you've asked them to come back. So we do have the applicant here. Council, if you have questions for them, if you could show PAPS 59, please. Mr. Duffy?
Sure, we're in the same spot. Yeah, so this is for 2 certified survey maps related to the PAP 59 development. As you recall, this is the innovation incubation area. They are requesting to subdivide that. When this came to you on November 5th, you would ask for clarification and conference with the applicant related to assurance that the buildings themselves would have the same architectural standards, as well as that the uses would be consistent with what was identified when you approved the overall project. So here's what the CSMs basically looked at. The developer has created restrictions on the CSMs that will be recorded related to building design and intended uses for this based on your request. We have added conditions specifically related to those uses of the property within the document itself to be able to enforce that restriction. As the mayor said, the applicant's here to answer any other questions or nod his head that he's in concurrence with that process.
Questions or comments from council?
Bob, can you go back one?
And just a reminder, you'll have items on this are both 9A and 9B.
And while you guys are reviewing this, Jason came to me with this, and the idea was to tie them to what their promises were in that letter. This is verbatim from the promises they made in that letter to you. So I was told that's what you wanted, and that's what we have.
When you say it,
Go ahead.
yeah, thanks, Mayor. When you say it was in the letter, this was in their letter as part of the developer's agreement, or what?
No, it was in the letter that they pledged in response to your concerns about what uses would be and would not be.
Oh, I see, okay.
Their
This-
response.
I don't think this was in our packet, that's why I'm asking to look at it. I don't-
Okay, yeah, I was, sorry.
Maybe it was, maybe I missed it.
It's on the CSM itself, so it's not a separate document in there, Alderman Rozak.
But it'll be recorded.
Yeah, I understand that. I guess I do have questions for Chris, if I can,
You
if
bet.
Chris can come up.
If you'd please come up and introduce yourself.
Good evening, I'm Chris Coleman with Nicholas Family of Companies.
Hi, Chris.
Good evening.
So the reason it just made, I think it made me and some other aldermen nervous because it was supposed to be a one combined project done by you guys, and have the same look. Based on this addition to the CSM, I think that's the goal still, right?
Yes.
Okay. Then I guess I'd like to know why you guys are selling them off as separate parcels. What's the purpose? Is it just because you can't develop it all?
No, we don't, we have no one who's in queue, so to speak, to buy any of them right now, but we do anticipate that we'll get users who will want to own their own property.
Okay.
So that's the only reason for the CSM, is in anticipation of a future user who would want to own their property, which is not uncommon. We see that also with other QSR, quick service restaurant users, who some want to be, do a lease and some want to own the property. So we just want to provide as much flexibility as possible.
My concern, and this, I'm not saying I'm not gonna ultimately vote for this, but my concern is we approve a project at some point, you know, after, like the next project, you know, multiple meetings, several hours of discussions, or sometimes, you know, a dozen hours of discussions, with the concept that here's what it's gonna look like, here's who's doing it. You know, now we're saying, well, we don't know who's gonna do it, and we think it should be the same, we hope it's the same, we're promising. But if another user comes in and buys one of those lots and says, look, I really don't wanna do all of this, I wanna change this one side or this one look, it's gonna change the entire look of the Innovation Center that we approved. So I am concerned by that significantly here. Why not split off the CSM when you actually get a buyer?
We're just trying to be in front of it. You know, this is not,
Flexible, or you're trying to create flexibility?
we're
for
trying to create
yourself?
flexibility. And I think your point is very well taken, and the protections that you're looking for have now been incorporated into the CSM. This goes beyond the deed restriction that is sometimes recorded in conjunction with a CSM being
Right.
recorded. This is literally on the CSM
Right.
itself.
So I think everybody's doing it in good faith, but it's nice to have it documented to give that level of protection for the city and for what this council has approved. Any further questions? Alderman Shellpepper.
Where would the quick service restaurant be? I mean, 4?
No, I use that as an example of another type of user who would sometimes want to own their property as opposed to being a tenant.
Where would they hypothetically go in this?
They wouldn't go in this. They wouldn't be allowed in here.
So what is a
Yeah,
applicable
Larry,
example?
I'll use a different example. Let's say one of these lots, Generac wanted to come in and build another facility. And they said, we don't want to be a tenant, we want to own our property. So what this allows us to do, it allows us to sell them that parcel, but then they still have to abide by the plan and architecture and design that has been approved.
So they'd be going into like Tech 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 in that
Yes, in that example, yep.
Okay, because I mean, that was honestly what attracted me to the project. I think others was, you know, just the opportunities with those innovation centers. And so I hope we're just staying true to that and, you know,
Yeah, 100%.
not a BW3s to go or something, so.
That'd be a big BW3.
Alderman Altman-Cloth.
If this is important to create flexibility in everything that you said, why was it not done this way in the first place?
I think that at the time, it was such an easy process at the beginning that we probably just didn't anticipate it. And, you know, as we go through the process, things arise, ideas come forward, and we try to be as proactive as possible.
Alderman Rozak.
As it stands right now, though, Nicholas and Associates still is going to own all.
Yeah, there's no
all 4, right?
conveyance of
Okay,
property.
there's no conveyance at this point. So
No.
right now, you're under control of all 4. You're still you have to comply with the same standards and conditions. So
Right.
I guess I'm comfortable where we're at. I'm glad you were able to answer the questions, though, because I think it was important for
Yeah.
us to have a comfort level on this change.
Yeah, and we'll get, you know, in a couple of months, we'll have the rest of the glazing in on the first building. I don't know if you've seen it so far. I mean, we're very happy with the way it's turned out. And to your question about consistency of the theming, of the execution compared to the architectural drawings, we think it looks great. So hopefully you guys do too. But we'll give everybody an opportunity to come out and see it firsthand.
Thank you, Chris.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any further questions or comments? Call roll.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Youngworth.
Aye.
Alderman Rosick.
Aye.
Alderman Altman-Cloth.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Now, the second half of this, consider act on the certified survey map for PAPS 59 to divide one lot into 3 lots and an outlot located at 1585 Town Center Way. If you want to explain the difference here for the group, Chris
Yeah,
and answer any questions. that
Mr.
would be
Riffle may
great.
be able to explain it better, but just by Wisconsin statute, you can only have so many lots on a single CSM.
Right, correct.
Got it.
Just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any further questions or comments? Call roll, please.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Youngworth.
Aye.
Alderman Rosick.
Aye.
Alderman Notman Cloth.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Since I am up here and I have the microphone, I would just like to say thank you to the mayor. It's been a pleasure working with you, and you will be missed. And thank you, everyone else also. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up are 4 items which relate to the Harvest Project. I'm going to go through and read all 4 separate items. They're 4 separate votes. I want council to be aware that they're all first readings. What I'd like to also, if we don't vote forward the first one, item 9C, then we'll not be voting on the other ones. So the first one is consider act on ordinance 29-01118 to amend the Oconomowoc Comprehensive Plan 2050 housing chapter regarding housing ratios. Second one is consider act on ordinance 26-01119 to amend the comprehensive plan to change the land use of the 106 acres from business park to suburban residential, high-density residential, and commercial office located at the Paps Farms Boulevard. Again, a first reading. The next item, all of these will have to voted on individually. Consider act on ordinance 26-01115 to rezone 17 acres from business park to BP to SR, 27 acres from BP to RMH, and 64 acres from BP to GC, located along the Paps Farm Boulevard, north of I-94, west of County Trunk P. Associated tax keys are listed. Next is consider act on ordinance 26-01116 to create the PD overlay, PD 126, for the harvest at Paps Farms, located along Paps Farms Boulevard, north of I-94, west of County Trunk P, tax parcels as listed. Again, that's a first reading. So these are the 4 items. Bob, if you want to come up, you've expressed these different areas in the public hearing. And council to be aware, as I just mentioned, if we decide, if you as your policy decision is to not move forward on the first one, which is the housing ratios, then the other 3 will be removed because they won't apply. Mr. Duffy. Sorry,
He's on a
Jason.
beach. So again, the first ordinance, essentially, again, you'd be modifying your existing housing ratio in the comp plan as an ordinance to 58, not to exceed 58% single-family, 37.3 multifamily, and 4.7 duplex, to be able to do that and accommodate the development that's before you. So that's the first conversation. I don't know if you want me to get back to those slides. I can do that. If
I
there's
think everything's pretty straightforward. I think if we just address the first one and then move from there, I'd like to open up for any discussions or comments before we entertain any motion. Alderman Spiegelberg.
I'm going to speak to all 4 of these together. You know, in a perfect world, it'd be beautiful to leave that land as agricultural, but it's been sitting for 26 years now, waiting for something special to be done. And the Paps Farm developers have an opportunity now to sell this. So as we know, this first vote will impact the next 3. I think we need to look at the overall picture here. I've said that before. We have 2 options for this property. One, that we do not change the ratios or the rezoning, and it could be developed with light manufacturing, general industrial, all of the other opportunities that Bob Duffy had put before us tonight. And those could go in without any city approval. Those are permitted by right uses within that area right now. The option before us tonight lets us have control over the process of what could be a really nice fit in that area. But this is not a done deal tonight. This is just a step forward to see if the developer can bring forth a project that works.
Seeing no more activity, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Well, yeah, I think there's gonna be.
I can go.
Nobody's saying
Yeah,
anything, I don't know. Or we can still have a conversation after a motion, it's up to you guys.
I thought Karen was still going.
Yeah.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just make some comments as well for the public record, so we can just be
Perfect.
transparent about what we're doing. I guess I'm a little disappointed. It seems like we lost a lot of the crowd that was engaged on it and wanted to discuss it. So I had a lot of the similar questions that some of the gentlemen put forward, just on, cost to the community from the services, from PD, from fire. So I share those concerns. I agree with Alderman Spiegelberg about what some of the options are that we can deal with here. I mean, we're American citizens, we have constitutional rights. This is also private land that we just can't hold in perpetuity for no sort of development to take place on. You have to have a balancing test and weighing test, and, does it comply with the greater good? One of the questions that was asked is, how do you determine, what's in the best interest? I mean, I don't think we have a complete objective standard that we work off of. We have an elected body that gets elected to make the decisions based on the feedback that we hear. We're all trying to make the decision in what's in the best interest of the community. What are the amenities that are going to be provided? What's the cost going to be in terms of dollars to services? What are the benefits going to be in terms of property taxes that we can bring in? So there's all these weighing tests going on. And then also, how does it fit in with what is already existing in that plot of land? I mean, right now on the far west side, you're anchored by Fleet Farm. On the east side, you're going to be anchored by a Costco. You have other types of development that will go in there. So my understanding is, based on some of the feedback I heard tonight, we should leave these random cornfields in between the Costco and the Fleet Farm, and that will somehow satisfy this itch to prevent growth and development from occurring in the community. That just doesn't seem to make total sense to me. We're kind of making a decision based on what's the existing zoning and use, which could be something more similar maybe to like what we have going out by maybe Chili's and Taco Bell, like that kind of look, where you have some commercial building and a commercial business park type look. Some of those, are being turned into storage units now, or you have something more like what we're seeing at Sendix and Olympia, where you're having this mixed use feel, where it's like a live, work, play atmosphere. I mean, I think that's the balance that we have here. It's not between, do you leave it as a cornfield, or do you, do you build there? That's not the realistic discussion that we're having. So residential is going to cost more on the police department side. That's the information that we received from Chief Pfister. That generally requires more PD services, but commercial requires more fire department services. So it's kind of a horse apiece, and that's according to Chief Bowen. So there's all these different components going into it. So I think those are the pieces that I'm looking at. And I do have one question out of all of that. I didn't get a straight answer on the utilities piece. So I think that would be interesting to hear, what is the utility requirement that's going to be generated by this development? And even if it wasn't a residential, are we still talking about, if it was commercial, those same utility requirements would exist? And, would those even be heavier users perhaps? So can we have any?
Mr. Fry?
Yeah, one of the things they talked about tonight, the one gentleman referenced well 8, we're under the completion of that. That well is pumps an extremely high amount of water, 1,000 gallons per minute, a couple thousand gallons per minute. And we've seen declining water usage through the city through efficiencies, especially with all the new construction. So in conjunction with the completion of well 8, we'll be taking down some of the older wells in the city, so more than cover that. But it's always been planned that the city was going to be providing water to this entire area, including the lands in the Village of Summit. That goes back quite a few years to an agreement that's been put in place. So we're not concerned with any of the utilities out there. We might have something with some of the existing pipe with sanitary, looking at the sizing of the pipe, working with the developer on that, but it isn't a capacity issue. So we are good on the 3 utilities that we have here: our electric, our water, and our wastewater.
Okay, and just finally, I would note, out of the whole development, I mean, we're talking about 55% commercial roughly, 40% residential, and 5% public. So I mean, this isn't all residential either. To those, saying that this is all housing and it's only residential, there is a large component of commercial that adds this diverse mixture of economic development opportunity in the area. And it is ironic that a lot of these individuals, I used to hunt, geese in the cornfields these people now have houses on, yet they don't want anybody else to move out and build anything by the field by them. I mean, I think 15 years ago, I would have said, hey, I want to keep hunting in the field that they now live in, but I'm happy they're here. They're productive members of the community, and it's positive that we're growing in that way, but we do need to continue to balance our small-town charm with constitutional rights people have of their property, so.
Great
Thank you.
comments. Alderman Ellis.
I thought about this for quite a while, especially being on the planning board. And I took another spin at this. One of the things that we need to do as councilmen and as the city is try to keep our taxes as low as possible. Without growth, without more housing, that is going to be virtually impossible. The reason there being is because the city has expenses. The city has infrastructure that needs to constantly develop and redevelop and redevelop and redevelop. Salaries have to go up. Insurance goes up. I could go on for all the expenses associated. How are we going to be able to pay for those if we do not have the additional revenue coming in through housing, through creating, whether it be single family, whether it be condos, whether it be apartments, whatever, my taxes go up. Because at the end of the day, it's the taxpayers that have to pay those expenses. So I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, one of my biggest jobs is to try and keep the tax as low as possible for the citizens of Oconomowoc. And here's the thing. I thought about this, that say we do nothing. Say we just vote this first one down, which means that the other three go away. Now, next year we go into budget, and, oh, this went up, that went up. Then those same citizens are gonna be in here complaining that their taxes went up. So I only see an upside. Especially, I want to thank the developers for listening and scaling it down a little bit and adding more of the single-family homes. Well appreciated.
Done. Alderman Youngworth?
I also want to say thank you, Cobalt and team, right? They've third rendition of this, right? So when I personally and some others have expressed concern about more apartments and the high density, they came back and they added more single-family homes, and so thank you, appreciate that. I just want to, so obviously this is my district. I've lived here for 16 years at the end of Oconomowoc Parkway. The congestion that I've seen just in the last couple of years from Lockland, Nordic, Hackney, all brand-new apartment complexes in my district. The last few years, it's insane, right? Try to take a right to go back to my house at Quick Trip, used to be just kind of left, right, full stop, and then on my way. Now, you sit there now, any time of the day, Tuesday, Friday, it doesn't matter. You're 6 cars back, you're waiting for people. The congestion is amazing. The taxes, I think I hear what you're saying. My biggest taxes come from the revaluation of my home, which is more of an inflation problem, different conversation. I'm not supporting changing the ratios. Matter of fact, I think we're already below where we should be. If I saw there was a 59 point something. This was probably the toughest thing I've had to deal with on council, but what I've heard a lot is It's too much density, too many apartments, too fast. And I keep hearing small-town charm. Where the hell is that going? Nothing says small-town charm like more apartments, right? I don't think so. So for me, it's a no. Thank you.
Other comments from councilmen? Alderman Rozak.
Well, I think there's a little bit of work to do. Can we go back to the proposed zoning map? Oh, I think you missed it. One more. Yeah, right there. So just a general question, this is more technical. When you look at the proposed, there's still that big blue area. I think those are the retention ponds. Why are those remaining business park? Don't know.
Well, it's an allowable use in the business park, similar to the well. We're not rezoning the well, we're not rezoning
The retention
Stormwater
ponds, okay, just so we're clear that there's not gonna be some filling in of those ponds and building anything there.
No.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good, because that's really close to my house. I had a question from a constituent the other day about the buildings. I don't believe there's any 4-story buildings, is that correct? Those apartments are 3-story. So my understanding is those are similar in size to, what's at the wingspan-ish? I mean, those are 3 stories. I also understood, based on all the materials I've seen, is that there are no, all the parking is either underground or connected. Is that true? There's not gonna be, so the big complaint, one of the biggest complaints about Hackney House is you've got this disconnected garages in huge swaths that make it look terrible. Hackney House would look probably 50% better if they didn't have long strips of parking garages along the edges. So I think that's a big plus. I'm concerned about changing the ratio. And I don't, this is a tough vote for a lot of reasons. I'm with Eric that this is rough. Having it be my district and having to consider what's all going on there. One of my concerns is we went from a total residential number in this area from 716, and now we've actually increased to 748. So we actually went up 32 units. Now, granted, I think you guys did a great job of adding the single family, which I appreciate. It's something I requested in the meeting on December 2nd, and we discussed further on the 16th and in later meetings. By no means was that original proposal fantastic or good or strong at all, because it was all rentals. Now at least we have 70 homes and 18 condos. So it's better, but then we add more units. What I'd like to see is our unit count come back down to what it was before, at 716 rather. I mean, I don't know if that's something we can do. The other thing that we did is we're giving an exemption. So I'm kind of speaking on all sorts of things here. We're giving the zoning exemptions for the bulk. I don't understand if we're doing all the changes already, why we have to give all those exemptions. I'm concerned by that. And I do hear the congestion problem. I do hear people concerned about the additional density. Now flipping to the other side, my other kind of hat here is talking to constituents and say, I don't want to see what's at the Economwalk Business Park across the interstate on the other side. And it's not necessarily a fear tactic, but if you look at some of the buildings there, and some of them are okay looking, but they're huge, massive walls that are 40 feet high, and you know, they're 300 square feet. I don't know as an owner with houses right there that I would want to go on my trail behind me and look at those manufacturing facilities. We've had some proposals for manufacturing facilities in these locations that also included incinerators. I don't think people want that. I don't think people want a distribution center. And the proposal I'm seeing in front of me now looks a heck of a lot better. It's something where my kids could bike to. It's somewhere we could walk our dog. We're not going to do that in a distribution center with, you know, acres and acres of pavement. And that's one of my big concerns. I'm convinced a lot by what Chaz says too about, you know, people's personal property rights. I mean, we don't own this property. As of right now, they could build massive warehouses with huge amounts of asphalt, seas of asphalt for trucks, and I don't think that's something we want. Lynn asked a question about net new construction, so I'll try to answer it for you. The only way we're allowed to raise more money is if we have net new construction. So we're levy limited by the state. So we can only increase our levy by our net new construction percentage. So if we don't have net new construction, so let's say we went to 0 one year, we could not raise additional funds. So when health benefits go up, or inflation, just inflationary costs in general, or pay goes up, there's no way to raise the money unless you do an operational referendum or you take out more debt. And those are the only options the state gives us. We can't just go and say, hey, we're gonna increase some percentages. So having the building going on is a benefit for us as far as covering ourselves from those aspects. Those are my discussion points right now. I'll wait to hear if anybody else got anything else.
Alderman Mulder?
Well, I am down to 4 last chances to get on a soapbox, so I'll take one tonight, I guess. So when I look at this, and I said this the first time it was proposed, that if you were, that this design for that particular space is really well thought out and very in keeping with the intent of really the entire project of Pabst Farms going back 30 years. You know, to have the very southeast corner of our city now up for debate as to whether we want mixed use, when our entire city has become mixed use and is, you know, in the words of Yogi Berra, no one goes there anymore, it's too crowded. Like, people want to live here. Every apartment fills up immediately. We talk about wanting, you know, entry-level houses, but at this, and so we change the lot, you know, lot size to decrease it, and then that's a problem as well. There is no, the dream of a $300,000 new home for a family of 4 doesn't exist, certainly not in Waukesha County and probably not anywhere. The new houses here are $550. You know, so the apartments are the ones that are affordable. So I understand if this was in District 1, I probably would have a lot more heartburn around it. And I understand, Matt, it's in your backyard. You know, Eric, I've, you know, tried to take a left out of Quick Trip as well, so the congestion is real. But I look at everything that's been done in the past 6 years in the Olympia area and how well planned out that was, along with heavy input from the city. I voted, that's probably about as far as I really was in planning that. It got planned very well. This is a really nice planned, hundreds and hundreds of acres. A lot of what Pabst Farm is the first part was planned, and then we have plopped things in. And there are cornfields, there are roads that go to nowhere. There's Fleet Farm with nothing on either side. There's Wingspan, which is gonna be great, but it's just developing. This is a nice comprehensive plan for a big piece of property. So it's being done the right way, I guess, is my point. You can vote against it, I get that. I don't like changing the ratio either. I'm ultimately gonna vote for this because I think it is the right project. I can't imagine a more appropriate project for that area. We certainly would not want there to be a giant distribution center, as I drive by the Amazon one every single day on my way to work in Cottage Grove. I don't think it would fit on this lot, but talk about a monstrosity. There's no people that are gonna work there. It's all robots, so they put up a giant building, robots run it, and, you know, we have an eyesore. So, I guess that's all my points. But I still applaud the development. I think it's really well thought out. The infrastructure is underutilized right there. We've talked about there. There's an on-ramp to I-94 that really has very little traffic, so this isn't gonna cause a lot more congestion going your way, Eric. People will use that on-ramp.
Well, until that street goes through, so we'll talk about that another time.
Well, I won't be here for that.
Right.
So.
Call you, I'll let you.
You gotta talk to Jennifer on that one. She's got ideas. So anyway, I understand all of the issues. I think I really do, but I think this is the appropriate use of this space. I can't imagine a higher, better use of this space.
So would you like me to put an agenda item for the next meeting, Matt's soapbox?
Yes.
And I'll put that in.
do.
Okay. That wasn't a soapbox. Thank you for the comments. Alderman Ellis, you had your hand up. Are you change your mind?
I did. I think Matt did a really good job of explaining what I was trying to as far
Cool.
as the net new construction. And the fact of the matter here is that if we don't have that, we need to go into levy, into debt to be able to pay for the things that we have. So,
When I would just comment to Lynn's question about having something that people can afford, that's part of the goal of putting the single-family homes either as side-by-side homes or on small lot lines, is to try to create entry-type level housing and to transition from the developments to the north. But that's hard to do, and so that's one tool that we have to do it, and that's where some of that density increased. Also, for the council to be aware, our staff, as well as myself, have been in communication with the Villages Summit, so they know everything that's going on. I had nice discussions with them yesterday, making sure they knew what we were doing. So we've tried to do this in a very open and transparent way with that municipality. They've been awesome to work with, and I know the developers have done the same. When it comes to changes on the side, on the residential side, that's really going to be up to Summit, not to us. But my impression is that they want to have a big plan development that makes it all feel like it's everybody together. And so that's the impression I have. And, you know, moving forward for the next council, I think they'll be very wonderful to work with. We've also offered our support and help as they look at different options. So where they go with it, I don't know, but they're watching now to see what we do, because we need to know if we're going to not vote this forward on the ratio item, the first item, then, you know, that's gonna, may affect what this developer does moving forward. I don't know, that'll be up to them. Other comments? Alderman Rozak.
Can I'm not sure if this is Scott or this is Brian, but I talked to Brian the other day and I told him my questions about the increase in units. Can you guys explain to me why the unit count went up 32 units? Is it because of those twin home concepts? Or did you add more apartments from deal to deal?
A couple things. When we started out, the first version, you may recall, had a lot of the, we called them single-family attached, which was probably not a good term to use at the time, but those were, 4 to 6 unit single-family along rental along the north. So
And that's what we replaced with the single-family
with the single
homes.
family. Yeah,
Okay.
let me pull up the site plan if you don't mind. Can I get to this, Bob?
There you go. Okay, yeah.
And I can, let me open this up a little larger. So, so along the north, all this became single-family, where that was previously all rental. And, to keep the separation, because the question of the unit counts is really a function of the different type of units now. We hadn't changed the two buildings here, and I mean, this is the property line, right, between the municipalities. So this has stayed the same. That's a 3-story, 110 units. And that's set up, you saw those images, and I'm glad to play that video again if it's helpful just to see this kind of in that context. Maybe we should. And these are set up to create a little more density around this central space. They're removed, from a lot of lines of sight outside the development. But it's intended to create that kind of community-centric area. And then the single family has its own ingress and egress, and I know there's still discussions if this point comes out onto P at that location. We understand that, but you couldn't, we couldn't create more other than, well, one, your suggestion certainly on looking at more density. We did make these lots slightly smaller. Number one. Number
I
two.
appreciate that for affordability, but
Sure.
where did the extra 32 units come in? Are they more apartments or are they more single-family?
It's a combination of both, really. Well, I mean, they're all new single family since those early iterations. So, but, and then these are all 2-story. So we have 3-story, 2-story, and then, whatever these single families become. So it's the different type of unit. These are all just 2-story in here, these garden style, and then we go to the 3-story. So, I mean, even if you said, can you go back to the number you were at before, I think, we'd be resistant, or at least want to push back a little bit, because we can't create more single-family lots the way this is set up. You couldn't put another road through here. It would be taking out one of these buildings, which I don't know that it makes a difference. It actually, we've got 34 acres of green space. So, in the end, we're really just trying to build the right mousetrap that has, one, it's a thoughtful plan, and two, it has an element of density that kind of ties to the ratio. Again, we've presented, again, it's other communities, it's not your policy, I mean, their policy to decide here, but we're less than 1 unit per 1,000 square feet of retail, which, you know, contemporary projects are, you know, 3 to 4 to 6. And so we're just trying to be, you know, thoughtful up front in terms of the overall development here. Do you want me to pull up the video? You can see it in the flight.
No, I don't need to see the video again. I mean, I think we all got the picture. I agree with Matt. Generally, it's a nice looking project. I think the spot's nice. I appreciate the addition of the affordability in the transitionary homes. My concern was, you know, the actual density went up. And I'd love to see a plan that brings that down a little bit more, if there's a way to do it. And I don't know how you do that, if there's.
Yeah, I mean, I think within Oconomowoc, we're at 18 more units. And that's again, a combination of those different types. And I mean, I'm open to how you do that, but it would be like we'd remove one building somewhere back here, I suppose, which is 18 units. And I don't know, does that really change anything in the end? I mean, I don't know.
Well, it may. I think it's something that we'd like to see. At least I'd like to see. I know when we talked about some options, and you guys are going to bring back site plans with options on the twin homes and what that's going to look like, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe the way to get to where you're headed as well, from a ratio perspective, I mean, is we could put a few more twin homes, or, you know, we can continue to look at these densities. We didn't fully sort of optimize that.
Right.
I mean, what if we add, you know, 10 more single-family homes, if we can do that?
Yeah.
To get to the same place, it'll still kind of work your ratio versus, I mean, I feel like if we just pull a building out, it's not good design. It really isn't. I mean, there's a road here, we just have a vacant spot. I don't know that makes a lot of sense. I'd rather focus on trying to create a few more single-family lots or twin homes if we could do that.
And Alderman Rhodes, like I'd say, you know, from that December 2nd meeting to kind of the iteration of today, you know, really the feedback that we got was, you know, more single-family owner-occupied. And that was our intent. I think that's really where you've seen the increase. You know, I think if you compare the garden style to the first iteration to what's today, that number count has actually gone down. Really, it was kind of just a yin and yang to that, you know.
Right, the overall rentals have gone down as a percentage, that's true.
Counting the condos in there too, right?
Well, that is, I mean, that's part of the problem with our current ratio
Correct.
is.
Yeah, we made owner-occupied condominiums here, which is really good planning, but it's not helping us on the ratio, right? So,
Yeah, what's funny, actually, what helps you in the ratio is the duplexes. If you actually, because I think we have a little bit more room on the duplex percentage.
Yeah.
If you wanted to help us a little bit more on the ratio and what was going in there, is you maybe try to create a few more duplexes somewhere in this.
yeah, if there's a willingness to do that I mean, it would be along this street up here, I think is where we'd have to do it.
Potentially, or you've got these random, like, kind of standalone buildings on the side. I'm just talking out loud to try to see what the best project we can push out here if we're gonna approve the ratio change tonight. So when you guys bring, I think I'm ultimately gonna vote for the ratio change to give you guys a chance to bring us, you know, a final version of this project to really kind of hash out. To Karen's point, you know, let you guys keep moving along in the process. But that's all I had for you guys. I'd like to see some other, as you start developing the site plan, some options for the single family, the combined, if you can add more single family, or if you can help us with a little bit more with the ratio by adding some duplexes versus just all rentals.
Yeah, and we certainly, again, to the extent we can fit more single-family, I don't think we fully, you know, studied this, kind of this cul-de-sac, right? There's a little more room, but when you're on those curves, it gets a little bit different with difficult with the geometry, but I think
Well, and for my neighborhood, that transition from the single family to the other rentals is a big deal. I mean, this is such a significant change from the first iteration.
Yeah.
Because prior to that, we had basically rentals bumped up all along us.
Yeah, up to the property line.
Yeah, so.
No, it's a big change, and I mean, it sets up nicely, this connection here. I mean, that was, I think, again, this has been a collaborative effort. We appreciate, there's been a lot of input, and we appreciate it.
That's all I have for you guys. I do have one last question, just generally on timing. My understanding is the Village of Summit hasn't even had a meeting like this really yet. They don't have they have a combined planning and village board meeting on March 19th? Is that
Yeah, I
accurate?
think they have it on the 12th. But gentlemen, do you want to speak to that, or Mark does? Because our staff and their staff met last week.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
so there have been a lot of different meetings going forward. They have not seen the video that you saw, because it's the first time we saw it. First time I
it's been
saw,
out.
I saw
Right, yeah.
a draft of it,
It
but
was,
not
we
the
got it
final.
about 3 or 4 this afternoon, the final version. But we've had several meetings with their joint Plan Commission and Village Board. And then really the issue to go forward for us is the housing ratio. If not, the whole plan doesn't make sense.
So we're first in
you're
line
first
because
for
of the
that reason.
ratio.
Correct,
Okay.
yep.
What's the timeline in the village for,
Their timeline is a little longer than yours in terms of procedurally how they do things. Their submission times are different. Some of their procedures are different with the comp plan amendments, but we would be in for a concept review now on the 19th of March.
but then after that, they have to do their actual comp plan change and then their zoning change, and they do those at separate meetings, is
They
my
do,
understanding.
correct, yep.
And they only have one meeting a month?
That's right.
Okay, so March is the first combined meeting, April, May, so you may not have a final approval from the village till May or June?
Yeah, and the questions, and so we're trying to work toward particular retail uses, right? Where we've talked about that really wanting to have construction commencing in summer, ideally, to have deliveries there by next summer for users that are out there right now. And so, with the hopeful approval in Oconomowoc, we could do that and continue to work with them on the balance of it. So we'd prefer to do that than, and again, we're trying to work together. This from us is one total development. I mean, the property line is somewhat irrelevant from a planning perspective, but from an implementation perspective, we could proceed with the western portion of the development.
A question then for potentially Stan. The whole zoning
Thank you,
change.
gentlemen.
The whole contingency and zoning change is contingent on them doing a developer's agreement or us issuing a permit? My understanding from Duffy's presentation is there was like permit issuance?
It's going to be with a final developer's agreement that is approved by you.
So if we vote for this, the ratio change today or the zoning changes, I think the motion needs to include language that these votes, these changes are contingent on a final developer's agreement to the extent someone makes that motion.
I believe it's
all of
in
them.
the resolution.
It's in the
that's before you.
resolution.
Yeah, but that's not what he said in the thing. He talked about permits for digging or something.
Right, it's the land disturbance permit.
Disturbance permit.
But that's not
issued
for
by the
all of them. That's only for one of the action items, right, Bob?
Correct.
That's not for the housing ratio. We
That's
need
the
to have it for
rezone
all
from
of them.
Business park to general commercial, suburban residential, and.
Whenever we vote on all four of these, it needs to have the language in there that this is contingent on a final developer's agreement signed by the city and the developer.
And that was a recommendation of the Plan Commission to the council.
With or without the
So-
section 3, because that doesn't make sense to me, because it is only on the one. I think it should be on a developer's agreement.
And they have understood that, and they've agreed to that as well.
You guys are
Alderman
okay with that?
Shellpepper?
Okay.
Alderman
No, that
Shell-
was actually,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
where I was going with it. And I just want to make sure that with like the housing ratio in particular, you know, like there's no sort of wiggle room that somebody else can take advantage of it if this, you know, project doesn't go through that.
That's the
There's like a
advantage.
snapback kind of thing
Yep.
that this
That's
doesn't
the
actually
advantage of the
change.
developer's agreement, yep.
Okay.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Well, I think we need to keep in mind too that with the ratio, that's a snapshot of the entire project that could take 5 to 7 years. And it also makes the assumption that there's no other building of single-family homes in the city. Is that correct?
Let's grant the pipeline, right?
So if, my recommendation would be to entertain a motion for the first item. Once we go through that, if that does pass, we will go through the next items. My recommendation to council is that you put this as contingent on a signed completed developer's agreement.
The comp plan is a separate type of issue because it is not tied to anything. It's not tied to this development, it's not tied to anything. If you're gonna revise a comp plan, you revise a comp plan.
Now, I was told that we can change the comp plan for this project based on this project going through. You are now saying that we cannot?
I never said that.
I didn't say that you said
Oh,
that.
okay.
That's
Well,
what I
I'm
was
saying
told.
you can't do it.
Okay. No, I didn't ask you the
No, I
question.
mean, the next meeting, we can change the comp plan, well, not the next meeting, because we've been through this drill. You can change the comp plan as you see fit. And if you see this thing going south, you can come back and change the comp plan again. But I want you to be very careful. Don't change the comp plan to tie it to one development. It is a plan for the entire city, not for a particular development.
Well, I'm not willing to make that change, and I think, you know, if they want to sue us over it, I guess, you know, they
Well,
can
they
do
can't
that.
They can't sue us.
I mean, they can
Well,
sue
I'm
us.
saying then let's make the comp plan change contingent on the developer's agreement. If they want to sue us, then they can sue us.
I agree with
I agree with Chaz.
You're here.
Or somebody else could sue you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just telling you what the law is.
No, and we understand that, so.
Can I make a motion?
Any other comments before a motion is made? Like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Can you state it, and do you want a contingent?
I want a contingent, and I want to keep the first reading. Keep this as the first reading.
Keep it as a first reading, okay?
Contingent on a signed developers agreement?
Contingent on a signed developers agreement,
Yes,
correct, Kevin?
correct.
Okay.
There is urgency to get this passed. Do we want to? It feels like we should waive the second reading so that they can go and work with Summit so that everybody knows what we're agreeing to.
Okay, well,
Is that-
let me.
I mean, I'm putting that out there as a discussion.
No,
point,
no,
but
it's.
That's what it seems like to me.
I appreciate that. I was thinking that if we didn't, then they would still have to come back and, but I see your point.
And for what
where-
point, yeah.
Yeah,
Does that substantively change the timing process, though, I mean,
They're saying it would help you to have a second reading done tonight.
because otherwise, we're talking about 2 weeks from now. I mean, we're talking about a 2-week delay.
What's the point?
Yeah.
okay.
I
yeah,
just don't
I'll-
see, yeah,
okay,
I
so
don't
I'm
see
gonna
the
go ahead and waive
benefit
it.
in that,
I'm gonna
Kevin.
go ahead and waive it.
If there was a
So,
benefit.
Kevin, would you
yeah,
please
but
restate your motion, please?
So moved. I want to waive to the second reading. This be the second reading with the, contingent. I forgot what I said.
Okay. Can I help?
Yeah, go ahead.
So you'd like to make a motion to approve contingent on approval of a developer's agreement with this piece of property, tied to this piece of property?
Correct.
And you want to waive the second reading?
Second reading, correct.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
We have a motion made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further questions or comments? Call roll.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shell Pepper.
Aye.
Alderman Youngworth.
Nay.
Alderman Rosick.
Aye.
Alderman Altman Cloth.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
That moves forward. So as we move forward to our next items, we can move forward to those. Let's reiterate what they are, and I'd like to entertain a motion for item 9D, consider act on ordinance 26-01119 to amend the comprehensive plan to change land use of the 106 acres. Again, this is listed as the first reading. You have the option to waive that. That's up to you. I'd like to entertain a motion.
So moved with waiving the second reading.
Second?
And contingent on the developers agreement as well?
Okay. And
Contingent.
contingent on the developers agreement as well.
Thank you.
Second?
Any further questions and comments? Call roll, please.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shell Pepper.
Aye.
Alderman Youngworth.
Nay.
Alderman Rosick.
Aye.
Alderman Altman Cloth.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Next up is 9E, consider act on ordinance 26-01115 to rezone the 17 acres and the 24 acres and the 64 acres. This again is your first reading. I'd like to entertain a motion.
So moved, waive the second reading and contingent on the developer's agreement being signed.
Just as a point of order, there was a discussion about this timing of permits, or that we were supposed to add to the motion.
I believe that's part of the PD.
You told us we had to ask to add that.
I thought it was to the PD though, and F.
The PD.
Just the
we gotta
last one?
rezone-
Okay,
we
just the
gotta-
last one.
We did
Okay.
land use, now we gotta do zoning of 3 parcels. And then the timing of permits is part of the PD order,
Just about the PD, okay,
the 4th item,
yep.
sorry.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
Any further questions or comments? Call roll, please.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shell Pepper.
Aye.
Alderman Youngworth.
Nay.
Alderman Rosick.
Aye.
Alderman Altman Cloth.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Next up is that issue you mentioned. So you need to consider that if you're going to make a motion, please. Consider act on ordinance 26-01116 to create the PD overlay district. This is again set up as a first reading. I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
This is the one that needs to add that added language.
So moved, I'll say so moved, with the motion to accept the ordinance with the additional condition number 23 regarding timing of permits, waiving the second reading, and contingent on the developer's agreement.
Second.
Any further questions or comments?
Can we just clarify the timing of permits so we're just clear on this? Can you just explain again what is changing?
Bob?
So essentially, we will not issue any additional permits for multifamily until two items may happen. One of them happened earlier, the other. That infrastructure installed that'll accommodate a minimum of 100,000 square feet of non-residential, or the closing of a construction loan for building or buildings comprising of 100,000 square feet. So what we don't want to happen is all of the multifamily to happen all at once.
Right.
And then we don't get the other part of the mixed use. So we're ensuring that by holding back permits on the multifamily piece, unless one of those components happen as well.
So why is the applicant asking for that adjustment to the language then, as opposed to us? Why wouldn't we be asking for that?
Well, the city asked for this language based on their lender, is my understanding. They asked for that. So
If you'd like to come forward to
Yeah,
clarify.
I'm sorry to belabor. It
No,
just
no,
is-
that's
I hadn't
good.
seen this, previously. So.
No, it's a good question. I mean, this wasn't in here initially, and the city had brought up, and again, like I said, we understand the idea of metering this so that multifamily doesn't get ahead of the commercial. The way it was presented first was just item one existed, right? Infrastructure installed that will accommodate a minimum of 100,000. So the goal is to have 100,000 square feet. Question is, what is infrastructure? The lenders get concerned. How do you define that? Is it utilities? Is it sidewalks? Is it trees? And does it got to be complete? If at the same time, if we close on a construction loan to start the construction of that 100,000 square feet, and sometimes if it goes like we'd like, we're building infrastructure at the same time we're building the building. So we didn't want to have to wait to complete the infrastructure. So it's not trying to in any way skirt it. It's just getting to the same goal of certainty that there'll be 100,000 square feet of retail before the next phase of multifamily can go forward. Does that
Thank you.
clarify? You're
Yep.
Yep, thank you. Any other questions or comments? We have a motion and a second. Call roll, please.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Youngworth.
Nay.
Alderman Rosick.
Aye.
Alderman Altman-Cloth.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, council. Great discussion, and you guys did your jobs and all of your jobs for the city, and we'll see whether this can happen. I don't know. There's a lot to be done in a long process. We're going to move on to new business. Consider act on resolution 26-R3339 for the completion of plans, specification, and bidding documents for the City Green reconstruction. Thank you, Mr. Herzog, for waiting. You've been here all night. We appreciate it.
He doesn't have a choice.
He doesn't, but he still is here.
Still here. Thanks again for letting me bring up our really intricate park that we've been discussing for a couple of years now, and trying a slightly different approach to this, as I think many of us have had some good discussion over the time about the park itself, and not caught up with just the bathrooms. So not to take anything away from the park or the bathrooms just yet, but more of a plan on how we can achieve of building the park with possibly having discussions about bathrooms simultaneously, just knowing that there's a different timeline on how we can construct this. The idea of trying to put the park in motion here, meaning the park that we had designed last year is what you're seeing here, minus the building structure and many of the components that were proposed before are implemented here. And my thoughts, as we've been discussing with staff and a few others, just to kind of get the idea that we discussed last time was when is the last time we can officially use some of the funds that we want to use for the park and the improvements towards that with the TIF 4 funds that were dedicated to this space. So inside your packet, I kind of laid out some ideas in there to utilize the funds and be able to get our park in place to be redesigned or updated so that it can effectively match the construction on the current setup for that. So basically what we have been proposing all along is this image here. This is the park and the amenities that it'll be. I can explain it in more detail, but this is the same stuff that I've presented before. The park is the same footprint of what you've seen out there today. The parking lot is the same. The big pieces of the extension of the boardwalk is a lot of things to go after here. The on-street parking, the perimeter security, seating, the gateway entrance to where the flag. It's all included inside of this park plan. And really want to take advantage of what we can do to this space with knowing the time constraints and some of the available funds. So with that in mind, I kind of indicated what we could do, and what I'm asking is to complete the idea of updating our plans and our specifications to match that plan from what we had in last year. So what it will require is to engage with our designer MSA to take our plans, to update it all to the current specs, all to the current specifications of the formalities inside the project, the specifications, and to update the details in our plan, the grading, the layouts, the utilities, all of which will need to be, in some fashion, need to be updated. So I've inquired with them to see what kind of effort that would be from their standpoint, and they've indicated that this would be a not-to-exceed amount of $43,000 to get us completely through the redesign, update of what we would need to match this park plan. That would get us through the bidding, the construction, and what I'm proposing is kind of like a schedule in this fashion, if you follow with me, just working with MSA to update the park plans. That'll take a decent amount of time to update that. We would then be able to have some discussion, and come May, we would be able to have the final decision on what we want to do with the bathrooms. That would most likely be a separate contract, separate purchase than our park plans. But we won't disregard them. They'll have some overlap. Where do we put the utilities? Where can we prepare them? Or stub them out if we choose of a future setup. That would give us some flexibility where we wouldn't have to sacrifice some time of waiting to improve the park. So that would definitely allow us early summer to complete all of those thoughts, put them all out for construction to get the bids and estimates back, and most likely some level of a contractor or two to have that. And then some space so that we can, we're definitely considerate of the space down there, the events, the timing of the year. Just after Fall Fest, I would believe we have a time inside of our very condensed season of what we could do some construction. I'm thinking maybe more along the lakefront where we could extend the boardwalk and drive the sheeting and type of those seasonal type things. And come November, we can allow German Christmas market to enter that space. And then like what we did with the boat launches, once the winter sets in, we can take advantage of whatever we can take advantage of. Take that time, February, it was 60 degrees. There was all kinds of construction going on. So not to count on those, but we know that that's an opportunity. So I would think if we can, indicate those types of phasing of our construction, that kind of lays out the schedule and what ultimately allows us to do is to utilize those TIF funds by the end of the year. And, you know, working with Steve in the finance department to knock that and have that in place so that we have those funds available. So I guess what I'm asking here is if we wanted to advance the park plan as we've presented, that would be, you know, a very familiar project that you guys have seen for some time now. There might be a tweak here or there based on some feedback, but for all, what would we be discussing is to propose to work with MSA and get this park plan, I'll call it, in motion so that we can get it into a design and then ultimately a bidding contract.
Questions or comments? Alderman Eric?
You got it, there you go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just to summarize, and I think this is what you said, the 43K is just to get the ball rolling on the Village Green plan, ultimately so that we can get the funding from the TIF in the right period of time. Obviously, we still got the bathrooms need to be figured out, but that's the real reason for this, right? Is get that ball rolling and make sure we use the TIF.
Yeah, I'm asking for approval from the council here to engage into an agreement with MSA to complete and update those plans so that we could, you know, that would account for all of that.
And the 43, I'm sorry if it's in here and I missed it, is that also part of the TIF? Is that
Those have been from park impact fees.
Gotcha.
So when he says, you know, to finish that, it also creates the bid documents. So when the bid goes out, everything's really specific and people know what to bid. So it's some of the engineering, but also the bid documents.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
I think after a lot of public input and many years, we've come to a great place with this and a very thoughtful design. And I don't know about y'all, but I'd really like to get off this hamster wheel that I've been on for 8 years, spinning around and around with this. And I think we need to keep in mind, too, that every time we've pushed this off, it potentially costs the taxpayers more money. And we have to also keep in mind the TIF dollars that will expire in December. And I think this would be a wonderful parting gift for my colleague, Alderman Mulder, to finally get this across the line.
Do you have a soapbox for us, Alderman? Alderman Shellpepper.
I do have one piece of feedback on just the green design itself, and I've talked to you about this before broadly, is like the steps down to Fowler Lake. So I've heard some feedback that those steps are probably gonna be like too large and unwieldy and not safe for people to actually step up and down. I don't know how tall, you know, the actual, you know,
Yeah,
design.
there's not much space. I would say each one of them, you know, don't hold me to this, but I'm gonna say it's in that 10 to 12. We have this kind of on the other side.
By Rockwell? Is it
Well, we have
similar?
them there, but we also have them on the other side by the kayak launch, those land and stone.
Those are pretty tall. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying,
Those
so
are
that was
probably
one of the
6 inch.
concerns I've heard is like, it is difficult, you know, to really, and then that piece, and then like there's no railing there, you know, and it doesn't look like we have a railing concept on here. So just, you know, and we can, you know, refine that, but
Sure.
I do want to make sure it's accessible and easy for people to, you know, go up and down. So that's that piece. You know, I don't want to support or give any sort of ability for the bathroom to be built on the green. I think I've been pretty clear. I just ultimately don't think that's the right spot. I have concerns with the City Hall location based on just the feedback from Fowler Lake residents. They hate that concept. They're totally opposed to that. They don't want the extra foot traffic there. You know, it is kind of interesting because they have the grocery store there now where there's a lot of foot traffic. There's going to be other buildings built there. So I'm a little confused by their opposition, but I'm their alderman, and so I also need to look out for their interests. So I'm kind of in this place where I'm like, we can't come to a conclusion. We can't come to a decision. I'm totally opposed to building the restroom on the green. So I'd love to have that, just that alternative stripped out from the proposal altogether. I might be the only one, but that's just kind of where I'm coming down on that.
Alderman Rozak.
Just a couple quick comments. I don't think we've been talking about the Village Green for 8 years. I know there's been discussion about bathrooms. I think our discussion about this current project is probably a year and a half-ish of this design.
Yeah.
So I think the time we've spent in it is well worth it because I think the ultimate plan that we have in front of us is really good, and I think it's got a lot of public buy-in. I'm with Chaz. I don't really necessarily like a bathroom on the green. I could live with some of the concepts we've seen. Some of them have been bad. But I do think it makes fiscal sense to put in this alternate bid for the laterals. Should a future council, a year from now or 2 years from now, decide they want to put it somewhere. Because I think we would be not responsible to put in that alternative should another council, I mean, we're going to have, 2 to 3 potential new aldermen, a new mayor. There could be a lot of changes. A whole group of people can come in and say, we want to do X. And I think it'd be smart for us to put in that alternative should something ever go in there. And maybe not next year, maybe 10 years from now. Someone wants to put something different there. There's somebody with a lot of money that comes in and says, I'll build something for you here, and I'll pay for it. And if we don't put the laterals in, we're ripping the street up again. So I think that makes some fiscal sense. The biggest thing for me at this point is, in the memo, there will be no borrowing. So for me, getting this pushed forward, this is smart to do it like this right now, to get it done without borrowing instead, more debt and more taxes on our constituents is great. And I think people are going to love this park when it goes in. So thank you.
Alderman Ellis?
Yeah, I also agree with the laterals. I think that needs to be done. We did something like that quite a number of years ago with the tunnel. Imagine if the alderman at that point in time decided not to put a tunnel down there. We'd have a problem. And so.
Be digging.
That's right, I'd still be digging, that's right, absolutely. So I think putting those laterals in is a good thing. And as far as the no borrowing, well, that's kind of the way I live. I don't like to borrow, so.
Alderman Mulder?
This may be my very last chance to weigh in on bathrooms, so I don't want to miss my opportunity. I will leave it to future councils to decide where they go. I would say that as we try to increase the traffic to our newly redesigned Village Green, to put accessible bathrooms 200 feet away, asking families to walk through what is a very active parking lot where people are seeking parking. It seems like we talk a lot about kids getting hit, right? I mean, that seems to be anytime you don't want something, you just say a kid's gonna get hit. But this seems like a time where you're inviting an accident, because you literally are going to have to walk through the parking lot to get to the bathrooms. It makes no sense whatsoever to ask our community to do that. They're not gonna take the path around the lake and come to use the sidewalk. They're gonna walk right through the sidewalk, right through the bank ATM, to get to the bathroom that's inappropriately located at the wrong end of the city. So that is the end of my bathroom soapbox.
Alderman Spiegelberg?
And I know we're not necessarily talking about the bathrooms, but let's look at the bookend of what he's talking about, because I've talked to a lot of seniors who say they do want the bathrooms down here. They don't want to be walking across a parking lot and going over to City Hall or some other location as well. So there's that, and there's that.
Alderman Shellpepper?
Yeah, the reason I want to pull out the laterals is specifically to hamstring future councils from making a bad decision of putting a large structure on the green that shouldn't go there. So I'm doing that, intentionally. Would those be available to be used for an indoor building facility? I mean, couldn't a building create its own laterals if they were going to put a restroom inside, or is that only going to be used for an external facility, that infrastructure?
It would only be for
An external
the
facility.
building in the park.
An external facility.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know why we would want to do that. That doesn't make any sense. And then the location by the city hall is what, a minute walk away? It's not far at all. This is for everyday use. The green is not used in the winter, very rarely at all. There's plenty of traffic down at the ice skating rink on the other end right now. That's happening for 3 months during the year. So you guys disregard everybody and their uses except for the little things that you're thinking about. So if we want to be fiscally smart and responsible about where we place it, it shouldn't be on the green. It should be in a building.
I would like to entertain a motion. Anyone?
So moved?
What's
Second.
so moved? As
To
presented?
approve
As
resolution.
presented, as
Okay.
To
presented.
approve resolution 26-R3339 for the completion of plans, specs, and bidding documents for City Green Park reconstruction.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further questions or comments? Alderman
So
Shellpepper.
when there's an emotion on the floor, you can't move to amend the motion, right? You got to vote on the motion that's on the floor. Is that correct, Stan?
No, you can make a motion to amend, and if you get a second, then you take a vote on it.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion to amend the pulled out the alternative bid for the bathroom.
So a motion has been made. Do we have a second to pull that out?
I'll second it. I'm not necessarily in favor of it, but I'll give it its airtime.
Good. Okay. I can't wait to be done with bathrooms.
Oh, my gosh.
I've been quiet this whole night, but
Can I make a motion to
No,
talk
we
about
have
the
a
chickens?
motion is already, yeah, Kevin, don't go to chickens. So we have an amended motion and a second. Would you please call roll?
Okay, time out.
And that motion is to remove
He has amended on
on the
the,
amendment.
Just to be clear, can I speak to my second, just so we're clear? The motion that Chaz made is to remove the alternative, but the alternative isn't, it's just an alternative bid item. It doesn't mean we have to ultimately approve that as part of the project.
Correct.
I know,
Correct.
I want to remove any possibility
I
of us
got you.
doing
He's
that.
he's
Yeah.
trying to block it so that no
Right.
bathrooms end up on
Understood.
Village
Okay,
Green.
fair. Thanks.
And you've seconded. Call roll, please.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
wait, time out. Sorry,
So-
it's okay,
You want to vote, the vote is to remove it,
Is
so
to-
you want to vote no if you're against removing it.
okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving
Yeah, it is
pieces.
kind of like,
So a motion has been made to remove the option
right.
for the infrastructure for a potential bathroom that may or may not happen. That's what, and that motion was made by Alderman Shellpepper and seconded by Alderman Rozak. So if you vote to do that, then that would be removed. If you vote nay, then the
Correct.
original motion will be voted on.
Correct.
So call roll, please.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Nay.
Alderman Mulder.
Nay.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Youngworth.
Aye.
Alderman Rosick.
Nay.
Alderman Altman-Cloth.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
So it does not pass. So we also have an motion, and that's fine. We have a motion to approve as worded by Alderman Ellis. I forgot who seconded that. Who seconded? Alderman Mulder. Any questions or comments on that? Alderman Shellpepper.
I'm going to vote in favor of the motion. You know, I did what I could to pull out what I thought was a bad decision, but ultimately, I do support this, you know, green and the effort we've put into it, and I think it's the right thing to do, so.
Well said
Vote in
and very
favor of the
professional,
motion.
yes. Call roll, please.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Youngworth.
Aye.
Alderman Rosick.
Aye.
Alderman Altman-Cloth.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Whew.
Are we keeping you up?
How you feeling, Jason? All right. Mark, do we have any staff reports
This beats the
today?
state address, right?
We have no staff reports. Do we have any reports or comments from Alderman?
Filibuster.
For how many years?
Any comments from Alderman? See no comments from Alderman. I just have a quick comment. Really happy to see that we're moving forward on the Village Green, but there's still a lot to have happen for that to go forward. And I think it's appropriate for the next council to make a final decision on whether bathrooms would be installed, yes or no, in the next calendar year, in the next 12 months. You do have that opportunity. It would be a separate item, and that will be up to the next mayor and the next council to decide on. But at least you'll have the option. What I think would be really sad is if we build this beautiful thing, then have to rip it up because somebody else decides 2 years down the road that they want to slap bathrooms up. So that's the reason that we put this option in there for you. I understand Chaz's point. I don't have a problem with his point. I can say also to the council, I strongly recommended that we do put bathrooms there, provided they don't look bad. And a big part of that is wrapping them so they have a nice architecture on the outside. Personal bias, that's my opinion. Second is I thought you guys worked through the stuff on the harvest very, very well as a dynamic discussion. Whether that goes forward or not, none of us know. But you stayed true in your vote that if a project comes forward that has a possibility that may be good and best use for property, that you would entertain and look at it. And frankly, for the people listening, that is what the council did. The council did not approve that development. The council said, hey, we are going to look at it. And that, again, will be followed through more with the next council and the next mayor. So hats off to all of you. It's been a long journey to do those projects, and you guys did a great job. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a nice evening.